Good evening, you guys. Good evening. This is your boy, Obil Mahari here, representing MehariNation Sports Podcast. Major salute to the entire LDBC and the basketball community. We are redoing episode 19 of Basketball Conversations. Last week, I was, feeling very horrible. Guys, good evening. Sorry about that. There we go. I was, not feeling 100%. You know what I mean? I was feeling pretty sick, but my voice is back, strong. My body's feeling good. So let's get this show on the road, guys. Let's get the show on the road. So first, I want to give my much love and admirations to all the nurses around the country right now, battling on the front lines of this whole, coronavirus pandemic been going around here, guys. You know, condolences to Big Dog Willie. He announced on 78 Sports TV's live stream that he tested positive for the coronavirus as he was out there battling on the front lines. You know what I mean? Taking care of patients that have been really been hit hard by this coronavirus. You know what I mean? So I just want to give my respect to him, though, bro. And you'll make it through this, man. I promise you that. And also much love and admiration to Tay Brown, who was a nurse in New York, been battling out in the front lines, trying to treat people that have been hit hardest, by this coronavirus. You understand what I'm saying? So all the love and respect to all the nurses around the country that's been battling out there, trying to help people that have been sick out there, facing, unbearable circumstances and unbearable working conditions right now. You know what I mean? So much love to you guys. You guys are the real heroes out there. You know what I mean? And we with you 100%, no doubt about it. You understand what I'm saying? And also condolences to all the lives that have been lost, because of the coronavirus, though, guys. So take care of yourselves, guys. Stay home, stay healthy, take care of your family, take care of all your essential needs, though, man. And hopefully that when this is all said and done, you understand that we can learn from this whole experience, and hopefully we could do better next time. It's the only thing you can hope for at this point. But hang on one second, guys. Just 1 second. 1 second. All right, let me make sure to get something fixed here just real quick. All right, there we go. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna get down to the nit and gritty here, guys. You know what I mean? We're gonna talk about several things here, man. We'll try to talk this out as much as we can here. You understand what I'm saying? So we're gonna exclusively talk about some things here, guys. Particularly, I want to talk about this one thing that it really was irritating me that this week. Mr. Lamar Ball was on the headlines again for the wrong reasons as usual. This time around, he was on some podcast, okay, and he flat out said that he could beat uh, Zion Williamson 1-on-1 in a game of basketball. You understand what I'm saying? Now, this is not the first time that LeVar Ball has said some, crazy things like that before. Because remember, before Lonzo Ball was drafted into the league, he was on all different types of platforms and also said that he could beat Michael Jordan, he could beat Charles Barkley, he could beat all them legends 1-on-1 in his prime. Now, this is not, like I said, this is not the first time that Mr. LeVar Ball has said some crazy things like that. But I just found it funny how he keeps, making himself look like a fool. I mean, to be honest with you, he thinks that getting all this ability is making him, look big out here. But he needs to be worried about, the lawsuit that he's going through with Alan Foster right now. You understand what I'm saying? He needs to worry about that. That the fact that he stole money from Lonzo Ball's account for his own personal pleasure. You know what I mean? He needs to worry more about that and worry about fixing those ugly teeth of his that just basically look like popcorn teeth. I mean, listen, you're making all this money, but you can't spend some money to fix those damn teeth of yours. Really, LeVar Ball? Really? Come on, man. Listen, you a fool. You an idiot. You a bald-headed, joke. All right? But at the end of the day, bro, could you at least spend a little bit of your money to fix that ugly teeth of yours? I mean, god damn, bro. Like, come on, man. Seriously, man. Come on. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous, though, man. But also, listen, man. nobody should take this guy seriously. I mean, for people that continuously bring LeVar Ball on these platforms, goes to show you that how ridiculous and how pathetic sports media can be. That they just care about ratings and basically drawing views and then basically telling the truth. That is what it is. You know what I mean? As I see the OG Mike Biggs boxing in the building, salute, brother. How you doing? And just remember one thing: you're not light skinned, bro. You darker than my elbow, bro. So just stop claiming that you light skinned. All right. but salute to Mike Biggs, man. Point is this: LeVar Ball creates confusion. He creates controversy. You know what I mean? And knows how to act a fool all the time. You know what I mean? And basically, he has been the main reason why Lonzo Ball's career has been on a downward spiral. Now, I don't want to hear all the stuff that he's been doing. I don't want to hear the so-called little improvements he's made. You know what I mean? Listen, I don't want to hear all of that because listen, the guy has been a bust since he came into the league as the second overall pick after the other bust, Markelle Fultz, was drafted by the Sixers. If you had to do this draft all over again, the Lakers would have drafted Taysom Tatum. But as we already know, Jeannie Buss overruled Magic Johnson and wanted him to draft Lonzo Ball, and everything did not work out. So listen, Lonzo Ball's career is on borrowed time. If he don't make the necessary improvements to stay in this league, he gonna get put out, bro, by the time his contract expires. And right now he's trying to keep a close, you know, circle now because of what his father did to him, and basically all the money he has lost because of the big baller scam. That just is what it is. And Mike Big says that, brother, I'm light skinned. Bruh, stop. You darker than my elbow, bro. So cut it out. Much love to you, bro. But this guy, LeVar Ball, man, he's just a fool, bro. He's just a fool, man. And I don't even listen to all the things he do, bro. And listen, anybody that wants to buy into this, to his scams, more power to you. But I'm not gonna ball into that because I'm not spending $500 on some shoes. All right, I'm not spending my hard-earned money on that. All right, I'm not gonna, you know, click on one of his videos and get any views and make sure and give this guy any views because that's what he's looking for. All views all the time. That's all he cares about. You know what I mean? He thinks that people are laughing with him, but they're actually laughing at him just to generate buzz and views. That's all the man does. And he's quotably responsible for you know, his son's names and the reputations, getting downgrade significantly because of their selfish dad. That just is what it is. But I'm not gonna sweat it too much though. And listen, Zion Williamson is going to be a future superstar in the making, regardless of what LeVar thinks. And Lonzo could be lucky if he even make it to the NBA for 6 years. Then that's just the honesty of the matter. That just is what it is. But man, the other thing that I also want to talk about is also this. Hold on one second, real quick. So ESPN now is going to release, the 10-part 30 for 30 documentary on the Final Dance, which chronologizes the final season of the Michael Jordan led Bulls, during that whole 1998 season. Okay. Now, I heard that it was going to be pushed during the summertime, but because of the whole corona outbreak that's been going on around here, there's no NBA basketball. There is no coverage around the league. So I guess the executives just said, listen, let's just push it for April, get this movie out there. Now, there's going to be maybe some hidden things that they're going to be really, really interesting about the Bulls, about what they've done during the time of the dynasty, and also some of the hidden stories that, I know pretty much 80% of it, but maybe not 20% of it. But the big question that was being floated around here about the dynasty was which of the three-peat teams was more impressive, the first three-peat team or the second three-peat team? Now, I really had a long time to really think about this. As most of you guys know, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, and I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan. I was too young for the first three-peat team, but I was kind of around for the second three-peat team. So, it was a really tough thing to really think about because both of them, both of those teams during the 90s were outstanding teams that very did different things. But I had to really think about who was the toughest road for the Bulls to three-peat. And I had a hard time thinking about this. I was going kind of back and forth about which team that which three-peat team was more impressive or much more tougher. So my verdict on that question is I'm going to go with the first three-peat team, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. The reason is that the first three-peat team had much more difficult roads just to get to those championships. Because you got to remember, the first time they won the championship, they had to overcome the mental hurdle of the bad boy Detroit Pistons that kept, beating up on Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, the Jordan rules, the physicality of those series. People forget the Pistons were really a deep team. That was basically led through their guards of Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. Plus, you add that with the bangers of Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, James Edward and John Sally and Dennis Rodman, and also you combine it with the scoring threat of Mark Aguirre. They were a tough team, guys. So they had to go through that mental hurdle. And as a result of that, they finally made it through and swept through the Detroit Pistons that was their playoff nemesis for so many years. And then they eventually beat Magic Johnson and the Lakers to win their first championship. But they had to go against one team that was making moves and it was climbing up the ladder, and that was the New York Knicks. Now, you know what I mean? The thing with that 92 team was that 92 team was perhaps the most complete team that they had during that first three-peat team. But they had a difficult road due to a large part of the physical nature of the New York Knicks. All right? So let's think about that for a moment. Pat Riley became the coach of the Knicks after spending a year as a television analyst for NBC for one season. Then he becomes the head coach of the Knicks. You had a young John Starks, you had Anthony Mason, you had Charles Oakley, you had Patrick Ewing, you had Xavier McDaniel, you had bangers. You had true hard bangers that really made things difficult in the paint. They were one of the most physical defensive teams in the NBA at that time. And when they met in this conference semifinals in 92, listen, many people expected for the Bulls to sweep through that team, no problem. But man, did the Knicks played physical ball like no other. And it wasn't easy. Michael, and Scottie, got banged up real good. You know what I mean? They still made their numbers, but they had to take a lot more shots, and their shooting percentages went down. And the Knicks, imposed their will and forced it to a 7-game series. Even though they lost in the 7th game in a blowout, that planted the seeds for the rivalry that took place within the next 2 seasons. Because at that time, the Knicks became the newest rival for the Chicago Bulls in place of the Pistons. Okay? Then you fast forward to 93. 93, the Bulls pieced together 57 wins. Not too bad. The Knicks, however, won 62 games. Okay? Excuse me. The Knicks won 62 games. They were the top team in the Eastern Conference, and many of them expect to beat the Bulls and end the dreams of a three-peat. And almost looked that way in the first 2 games when they were basically beating them on the boards, out hustling them, and making Jordan, shoot tough jump shots. You know what I mean? It was not. Listen, that 93 series made perhaps the most hyped up, most anticipated playoff series during that 90s, and it led up to the hype. All right? But you got to remember, the Knicks were unbeatable at the Garden. I think they at least won 27 straight up until that infamous Game 5 of that series. And then when the series got back to Chicago, the Bulls turned it up. They imposed their championship will and made the Knicks frustrated. Though that Jordan, and another thing though too, Michael was also going through the gambling controversy too during that whole series, which also included that infamous trip to Atlantic City that the paparazzi picked up on. There was a reason why Michael Jordan refused to speak to the media for that whole series because the media attacked his personal life. You know what I mean? And he just said, "The hell with you guys! I'm not talking to y'all." And he didn't talk to the media. He didn't talk to anybody except for a mob shot at NBC Sports. So, excuse me while I cough real quick. So, right now, the way I look at it is this: that Knicks team in '93 made the Bulls sweat for every single possession, and then in that famous Game 5, it was a war from start to finish. And Michael had a triple double. Scottie Pippen finished with at least I think 30 plus points in that night, which also includes the iconic block shots of Charles Smith in the final possession, which really was the nail in the coffin. It was just an unbelievable thing because we got to remember the Knicks won 27 straight games at the Garden. Okay, and the Bulls went in there as heavy underdogs and basically slammed the door on the Knicks' opportunity to beat them. And it was basically the nail in the coffin as the Knicks lost all the confidence in the world and lost the series in 6 games. Because you think about that, they had to beat the Knicks. They also had to beat Cleveland in '92 as well. And Cleveland was no joke there too as well, especially with that big versatile front line they had of Doherty, Lance, and Hot Rod Williams too. And then you also had to come back to hot shooting and Mark Price as well. Okay. And then in the finals, they had to go up against the Portland Trailblazers, who were an athletic, high-scoring team led by Clyde Drexler, Jerome Kersey, Terry Porter, Buck Williams. You know what I mean? And then you had Clifford Robinson off the bench that could play 3 different positions. You could play small forward, power forward, and even the center position too. You think about that for a moment. That first three-peat team was clearly far impressive because it's not easy. They had to go through killers just to get to those championships. All right? It was not easy. By the time it was a second three-peat team, Michael was much more mature, and they had all sorts of strengths in every single position, especially with the acquisition of Dennis Rodman as well, that really helped their defense and their rebounding, as well. And they didn't lose too many games during that 96 season. They only lost 3 playoff games during that whole run in 96. But those 2 years with the Utah Jazz made it very interesting. And the Jazz really pushed the Bulls to the limit. But other than that, I'd say that the first three-peat team was probably more impressive than anything else, though, in my opinion. But, let me know what you guys think as I see the other people in the chat there, too. Mr. Tiptoe in the house and Brooklyn Child Boxing, who's an ultimate Knicks fan. You understand? And let me tell you this, though, bro. Somebody got to tell Jay Stone to pay his employees, bro. That dude is a cold, hard SOB, man. Real talk, bro. I don't know. How can you stand to work with that kind of person? I just don't know. You know what I mean? But go ahead. But make sure to smash that like button too, go. Let's try to get them likes up, though, guys. So I also wanted to talk about this big issue in mind that's really been kind of ingrained in my mind, this week. Because here's the thing. The NBA wants to find a way to resume the 2020 season. Because the big problem with the NBA is this. The NBA right now is losing money with each passing game, with each game that they have to postpone or arguably have to cancel. Now, when they had to postpone the season after Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus, you know what I mean? Everything got delayed. Everything got pushed back. You know what I mean? And, the NBA has been trying very, very hard to try to work on different types of solutions to try to, continue the season, to not lose any more money. Now, before I started the show tonight, I wanted to research about how much the NBA, produces, how much NBA makes, in total revenue for one entire season. Okay. Now, when I look at the numbers that I had to research about this, last year, the NBA made about at least $8.5 billion of total revenue. So for the last, at least you could say the last 3 to 4 seasons, the NBA produces at least between $7 to $8.5 million of revenue, and that includes through TV, merchandise, sponsors, and ticket sales. Okay, which you know the theater thing too is also that the NBA, all 30 teams produce at least around 1.9 to $2 billion of total revenue for the entire league. So collectively, if you add up all the teams together, okay, each of them the league produces 8.5 billion dollars. Okay, so the problem is going to be the more games that they have to cancel, the more money that they're losing. So what's going to happen is, and actually research this through an article from Bleacher Report. Okay, so here's the thing about this whole matter. Now listen to me very carefully. Okay, now if games continue, if the games are officially canceled, if the NBA decides we're going to cancel the games altogether, no more basketball. Therefore, the league can deduct approximately 1.1% for each lost game, which also includes 5.5 playoff games per team that officially make the postseason. So let's say for a high-paid superstar like a LeBron James, for every game that they have to postpone or cancel, he would be on the hook for at least $400,000 per game that we had to pay back to the league, which is arguably ridiculous. I don't know why. It's actually ridiculous why that the league has to force the players to pay back the money that they've earned. It makes no sense to me. But to continue on this, while players typically receive their final paycheck from November the 1st and from the months after the season ended, there's actually a select few that have accelerated pay schedule, which includes James. So by force, James would have to promptly pay the difference directly to the Lakers. But the thing is, the league isn't ready to take that route, and they don't have the right to hold back salaries for games that have been, simply postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic. So, the question is going to be, how comfortable will the players be in giving back money for games that they may still have to play, and would they be guaranteed to recoup the funds once placed in the escrow, or will the league just need to keep it all to offset what could be a significant drop to the basketball related income for currently a stalled out season? Certainly, there's a lot of opinions on the whole thing matter, but here's the vague reality of the situation. Now, according to what the Bleacher Report, here's what it says. I'm going to read this out loud, so listen to me very carefully. But the unfortunate reality remains. The players are going to be hit hard financially by the pandemic. The CBA, which is basically the collective bargaining agreement, guarantees that the players between 49 and 51% of the league's BRI for each season, which is basically basketball-related income. Assuming an even split for simplicity's sake, a $1.2 billion loss in NBA revenue would translate to at least $600 million hit to the players. It is inevitable in one form or another, and why the union would be even considering taking a 25% withholding. The league already holds 10% of each of the players' check in escrow per the CBA to help the numbers balance at each end of the season. If the players are collectively underpaid in relation to the revenue split, that money goes back to them through the union. If the players were overpaid as a group, the league can keep some or all the escrow, which is either pay back in equal shares to the teams held on by the league or other purposes. So for last year, approximately 369 million was withheld in escrow, which is mostly 308 million was returned to the players, though at least about 2 million was distributed to each team. Okay, so here's the big thing in this whole matter. Because of the shutdown, and this is what the article says, because of the shutdown, the league will probably need to keep at least the entire escrow of roughly 380 million basically approximately $3.8 billion in player salaries and then some. That's an additional $335 million after losses from the Chinese market, plus another 50% if the union agrees to the 25% holding, which could amount to around another $329 million. So here's the thing, though, guys. Here's the big thing in this matter, okay? The league is facing in a huge situation where they're going to have to make some difficult choices. Do they want to hold up games? Okay. Do they want to postpone the games as long as they can with the promise of the guarantee to try to get some of the money back that they're losing from those lost games? Or the other side of the ledger is that keeping the withhold of how much the season is going to be produced in terms of total money and give that some of it back to the players' hands. Now you kind of understand where the league's mindset is, because they don't want to be put in a situation where the players are protesting where they don't want to give back the money that they've rightfully earned from their guaranteed contracts. So I could understand that kind of perspective from the league, but at the same time, all that goes out the window when you're talking about messing around with people's lives, messing around with people's families. All right. Now, there's no question that the NBA as a whole is losing money with each passing day. More games are being postponed or, canceled, whatever how you want to put it. Okay. And unfortunately, if the players don't agree, then the league will have no choice but to cancel, all parts of the regular season, even the playoffs. Okay. And if so, approximately 17.5 games remaining, about the 5.6 playoff contests per team, that would be equal to at least 24% of each of the players' checks, and awfully close to the 25% the league is asking in lieu to the cancellations. So the league is going to be facing hard decisions because they don't want to, cancel the entire season entirely if they can't agree to the percentages of the guaranteed money that they'll be getting from, the league and from their owners. Okay. But as the same part of the ledger, this is a tough, bind that the NBA is going to have to go through, and they're going to have to make some very hard decisions. Now, rightfully, as people that don't make that kind of millions of dollars, you would look at that and you would say, hey, just cancel the entire season. You guys making millions of dollars. But at the same time, we don't live in their shoes. We don't understand the kind of financial decisions that each of the players had to agree upon to protect, their income. All right. Because not a lot of people are making LeBron James, Kevin Durant, or Steph Curry type money. Not a lot of players in the league are making that kind of big bucks, okay, from their sponsors and their advertisers, okay? Not many players around the league are making that kind of money. So there's going to have to be a middle end to try to make this work. But in all honesty, though, bro, in my opinion, I think the league should just cancel at this point. I mean, they're going to have to agree upon how to manage the money to make sure that the players still get paid through the rules of the collective bargaining agreement. But the consensus opinion is this. My opinion, at least, I don't know what anyone else thinks. The league should just be canceled by now. There's no reason to continue any more games at this moment. Because the more time you play around with this, the worse that this becomes. And I also heard about, the NBA wanted to try to, alternate solutions to play games in probably selective, and alternate, places where, people were not going to get infected or stuff like that. And then alternating the playoff format to try to make it to a best of three series to decide on an NBA champion. I mean, at the end of the day, there's simply no way to try to, make everything work. I mean, it's just physically impossible. If you're asking to try to start these games in a different venue or a different site, you have to test and you have to quarantine players to make sure that they don't have the virus to just spread around to other people. So there's a lot of things that the league is, thinking about and trying to, game plan for this. And if there's no reasonable solution to this whole matter, they're going to have to make the difficult decision and just shut the entire league for the rest of the year, and probably have to shut out the majority of next year too if the pandemic does not slow down. So there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to be reading about and we're going to be hearing. So keep your eyes open and have an open opinion about it. Now, I get it. I understand the mentality of a lot of these players because they are trying to do whatever they can to save as much money as they have in the event that the league does not resume the season right away. You know what I mean? And I think, though, right now, we'll have to wait till everything gets sorted out because we're playing by the percentages right now. But if the owners could collectively together and try to figure out a way to work something and deal out with with the players union, okay, if you're going to cancel the season entirely, then you're going to have to agree upon the 25% of the players' revenue and figure out a way to split the percentages so that way everybody can continue to get the money that they deserve. So, well, we'll see what happens on that, man. But there is a major negative to this. So it's kind of like what we went through, what a lot of sportsmen went through during the '94 players strike, where a lot of different accomplishments and a lot of different achievements are basically had to be paused out because of a work stoppage. All right. Now, obviously, there's different circumstances between those two comparisons, but some of it still is familiar with it too. Now, one of the big accomplishments that's one of the big things is being paused or probably canceled through all of this is a lot of different accomplishments. Now, James Harden's missed threes record, which is ridiculous. Like, bro, stop chucking up all those threes. But he James Harden, man, let me tell you something right now. James Harden right now, at this point right now, if the season had played out right now, he was going to be on pace to miss at least 645 threes, which is five off his previous record of 653s a year ago. Like, come on, James. You could do more than that and just shoot threes all day long. But thankfully, he won't have a chance to accomplish that record there too. Although, I think that although he's gonna have to do other things to just chuck up threes all day long. See, I would still stay ready all the time, though, man. I still stay ready all the time. Why you still, on James Harden's, bandwagon, despite the fact he chucks up threes nonstop. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. What's going on, Leon Robinson? How you doing, my brother? But also, let's continue about this whole thing. The other thing that's also being, delayed about this is Milwaukee's great season. They were having their best season since the championship season in 1971, and they were they basically went through. They actually went from 52-8 to at least 53-12 in the span of 5 games. All right, even though they went on to win 18 games earlier in that year. Okay, they were basically had a chance to at least amass be 68, 69, and the better case scenario, probably join the 70 win mark with the Chicago Bulls of 1996 and the Warriors of 2016. So they had a chance to possibly make a mark into history books and probably contend for a championship. But that team is going to be probably remembered kind of like as the Montreal Expos that had a historical season in '94, only to be delayed by the eventual strike. And there's also uncertainty where if Giannis is going to be back in the Milwaukee Bucks, in the future, because remember he was going to be heading as a free agent, so you never know. But we'll never know if they would have won the title or not. Depends on if the season continues. But the other thing that also think about this though too is the Spurs playoff streak. Okay, the San Antonio Spurs put together probably the greatest run in NBA history since 1999. Okay, listen, they've had the longest streak in the history of sports. Okay, they have made the playoffs over the past 22 seasons. They've won a total of 170 playoff games with an average of about 7.7 playoff wins per year. Okay, with 5 championships along to their credit. The only thing they have not accomplished is winning back-to-back titles, but that's a subject for another day. But from basically basically this year, the Spurs were on track to missing the playoffs. Okay, they were basically 27-36 before the season was postponed, and just the pairing of DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge just was not working, and their outside shooting has just been horrible, and the defense, which has always been the hallmark of their franchise, was been terrible. And there were some rumblings that Greg Popovich may even retire as well. So we don't know. Unfortunately, that streak right now of 22 straight years of making the playoffs is going to be still intact, at least for the time being. But when the season resumes again, we'll see what the Spurs will do to try to make sure to keep the streak intact or break the streak and just start over. Now, the other thing that also, that also is a big unfortunate thing though too, and it's also another thing. There's going to be no NBA champion. All right. So the NBA was created through as the Basketball Association of America. Okay. Actually, Basketball American Association, which is started back in 1946. Okay. There have been no season that had not included without an NBA champion. All right. Every single year since the 46-47 season, we've always had a crowned NBA champion. Okay. Unfortunately for baseball, the only time that they didn't crown a champion was back in 1994. Okay. Now, we won't know who will be the champion, for 2020 if the season doesn't resume itself. But if the season is entirely canceled, this will be the first time we won't crown a new NBA champion. You know what I mean? We've never seen that before in the history of the National Basketball Association. And it would be kind of this difficult, you know what I mean? It would be just weird to see that happening, but you have to understand the circumstances of what's going on around here. So it would be very, very interesting. And then we will look at it, it almost in a little bit of a different light, though, obviously, of course. But we kind of look at that as kind of, in this bit of some circumstances from the '94 strike too. You know what I mean? This is something that we're going to be talking about for a very, very long time about this, though, guys. You know what I mean? It's just, I think that though at the end of the day, you know, it's going to be we're going to be remembering this season for a very, very lot of different things. One, the death of David Stern, who was one of the great commissioners in sports. And then obviously the big one, losing Kobe Bryant in January. I mean, I still can't believe we lost Kobe. Actually, absolutely, Leon Robinson, of course, my man. We lost we lost Kobe Bryant because of a freak helicopter crash. All right, and it's been a really been a tough year in 2020. You know what I mean? We lost one of our great basketball heroes, and I still can't believe that he's gone. I mean, it's only been what? This was January. We're only 4 months in from Kobe's death. This is something we're going to be talking about 10, 20, 30 years from now. And when I heard about Kobe's death, honest to God, I was on my phone, with when Ticket TV posted out the news, on his live stream. I could tell the emotion that was coming through his eyes, bro. And how could it not? I mean, this was a guy that came into the NBA as a 17-year-old, a very confident 17-year-old kid. And then look at him. He grew up into one of the great players that ever played the game. And he was getting started in his post-basketball life. He was teaching his daughter, Gianna, how to play basketball and being the next and basically holding on to the torch. And then all that got taken away in one fell swoop. Just unbelievable, man. Just absolutely unbelievable. It's been a really tough 2020 to say the least. You know what I mean? With the postponement of the NBA due to the coronavirus, and then the two tragic deaths of David Stern and Kobe Bryant. RIP to both of them, really. But as I said before about this whole, live stream, it's simple as this. The NBA should just come out and just cancel the season altogether. I mean, there's just no reason. There's no reason at all for any basketball to be played. All right, they're still going to have to figure out how to manage the money and how to split. How to split the total revenue that's going to be lost because of the entire season. But I just don't see this. I don't see how can you push this out, towards the summer, because we don't know how long this whole virus pandemic is going to continue. It might take a full year before this whole pandemic gets slowed down there too. By that time, our society is going to be completely different because we're going to have to teach ourselves, better hygiene, how to clean our spaces, how to take care of each other, and there's going to be different type of medicines and vaccines to help us treat from this whole coronavirus. I mean, it's just our whole world is going to be totally different from this. Society as we know it is never going to be the same. You know what I mean? Sports in general, we're going to, sports is going to come back. We don't know when, but it will eventually come back. And there's no question that sports is going to be changed though too. How, players, play, how the players, practice, checking on if players have, different illnesses and preventing them from going out there and playing because you might spread it on to others there too. There's a lot of different things you're going to be thinking about there too. So at the end of the day, man, we hope that, this pandemic, can, we hope that this pandemic doesn't, ruin a lot of lives. But I can tell you this though, right now, it's only going to get worse from here on in. And the only thing we can do right now is just protect ourselves, protect our family members and, eat healthy, stay fit and, don't go outside unless if you really have to. That's the only thing I should suggest right now for everybody at this point. But it's just it is what it is, though, guys. It really is what it is. And like I said at the start of the show, major salute to the nurses and the doctors that are on the front lines trying to treat these people in these crowded hospitals. You understand what I'm saying? They're going through a lot of crazy stuff right now, working long shifts. You know, you know, ventilators not operating, running short on them, running down short on some medical supplies and protective equipment so they don't, infect themselves too from this virus. And I really think that we're going to learn a lot of different things from it. I really do. I think that this virus is going to really teach us that we can't take things for granted and we always have to be prepared for the worst case scenario if possible. And for terms of the basketball perspective, I think that as Mr. Leon Robinson says correctly, if this drags on, we may have seen the last of Carmelo Anthony and Vince Carter. We might, and that's the worst part of it too. I wanted to see Vince Carter have his, Renaissance festival and get him the respect that he actually deserves. Here's the thing about Vince Carter. As much as I trashed on Vince Carter for attending that graduation ceremony on the eve of a Game 7 against Allen Iverson and his Philadelphia 76ers in the 0-1 playoffs, Vince Carter was class personified. He has always been a committed competitor. You know what I mean? His career didn't turn out as Kobe's did, but he's been able to hold on strong since 1999. I mean, at least 21, 22 seasons. I mean, that's just an impressive, accomplishment. And I think though he will have a heavy consideration to go into the Hall of Fame too. Same with Carmelo Anthony too, because listen, Carmelo Anthony was being blackballed out of the NBA for whatever reason he had, and he was making huge strides. He basically was proving everybody that he still had the same scoring mentality and still had the same effectiveness when he was a young player too. And unfortunately, because of the season being postponed, we don't know if they're going to come back. We don't know if it's the last time we'll ever see those players. But if it's the last time we see them, salute to them. Great careers, and they're both going to the Hall of Fame. I firmly believe that. Vince Carter may have a longer case, but I think he'll get in eventually based on longevity, to be honest with you. I do tend to think that the NBA is going to be in safer hands as we move into the next generation of great talents like the Trey Youngs, the Zion Williamsons, the Nikola Jokic of the Nuggets, and also that Mavericks player. And also that Mavericks player too. Hold on. Oh, Luka Doncic. There you go. Now I remember Luka Doncic. So yeah, guys. I mean, the NBA is going to be in safer hands. You know what I mean? And also, LeBron's not getting younger too. LeBron will be 37, and he's been hanging on. He's been durable throughout his career, but his hourglass is starting to running low. You can't continue to have this kind of production for a long time. Eventually, at some point, Father Time is going to catch up with you. You know what I mean? It catches up with everybody, even Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird with the back injuries. I mean, Father Time is undefeated in all sports. So we really don't know how long LeBron can sustain that kind of level of fitness and durability through the majority of during the twilight days of his career. That just is what it is, And I'll say this other about LeBron James. LeBron is probably the most committed athlete to keeping himself in shape and keeping that high level of energy during the whole 82 game season. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy to play 82 games, committing yourself into shape and fitness. It's not easy, guys. It's definitely not easy. And I commend him greatly for putting that on throughout his entire career. But as soon as basketball resumes, you know that Kevin Durant's going to be coming back with a vengeance. Steph Curry's going to come back. Clay's going to come back. So I think the window of opportunity for LeBron for another championship may have been closed shut because of this whole pandemic. And it's just really, it's kind of unlucky if you really think about it, guys. It's really an unlucky situation that, a lot of people are going through at this particular point in time. But yeah, but it just is what it is, though, guys. But I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for the night, though, guys. But I really appreciate you guys, showing the love there, too, guys, and showing all that, respect, though, man. But make sure you stay safe out there, guys. Go outside. Don't go outside unless you have to, for groceries or for something important. But stay inside. Wear your gloves. Wear your mask. Protect yourselves out there, guys, because these people are nothing but savages, bro. And there's still people out there that don't believe that this virus is going on, killing people. The only thing I can tell you is, best of luck to you if you think that way. That's the only thing I'm going to tell y'all. But hopefully, whatever issues the NBA can figure out, that they'll get through this, regardless if they decided to cancel the season or not. But I'm going to go ahead and conclude this show for now, though, guys. But I really appreciate you guys, sticking on here and enjoying the show, though, guys. But I'll be back next week for another episode. I'll probably come on Sunday for some good old boxing talk. We're going to get over a lot of the stuff in the world of boxing, and then we're going to coincide it with Coach Sheldon Harris's show. All right. So thank you for you guys for tuning in. Really much appreciative, and stay safe out there during this whole coronavirus pandemic. But this is Abil Mehari, represent MehariNation Sports Podcast. Much love to the entire LDBC and the basketball community, and stay safe out there. Have a good night, guys.